Hi guys, welcome to my channel. In today's video, I'll be teaching you how to draft a 2-in-1 trouser pattern. This pattern consists of a pant pattern and also a palazzo pattern. If you can draft this pattern, it will save you a whole lot of stress of drafting a separate pant pattern and also a separate palazzo pattern. So without wasting much time, please like this video, comment, subscribe, share with your friends, and let's get started. Welcome back guys. So these are the measurements we'll be needing. So now my trouser length is 38, so I'll be taking away 2 inches. These 2 inches will serve as the band. The 2 inches will serve as the band, so I'll measure my trouser length over here. My trouser length is 40, so I'll measure my trouser length over here. I'm sorry you can't see that. So you measure your trouser length, then you rule a line across the point over there. So the next thing we'll be doing is to measure our inseam. So I'll put a picture right here to see how to measure your inseam. Is through this inseam you can get your crotch length. So my inseam is 30 inches. So I'll mark 30 inches from the lower part upward. So whatsoever I have upward here is my crotch line. So measuring this, I have 10 inches, which is my crotch line. So now I'll measure my thigh line. Our thigh is usually 1.5 below our crotch line. Then you measure your knee length. Your knee length, you know from our measurements, there's knee length and there's knee circumference. So you measure your knee length across this area. Then after that, you rule a line across those points. I will label the lines shortly so that you can understand the lines. So the next thing I'll be doing is to measure my hip length. And I'll rule a line too across that part. So that's my hip, that's my crotch, that's my thigh, and the lower one is my knee. So the next thing now we'll be doing is to measure our hip measurements. That's our hip circumference. So what's your hip circumference? Whatsoever you have, if your hip is 40, you add extra 1 inch to it. Add extra 1 inch so that it can be a little bit free, not too tight. So let's assume our hip is 39 inches. So when you add extra 1 inches for the freeness to 39, we have 40, and 40 divided by 4 is 10. So after measuring your 10, you divide the 10 into 4 again. So that's what you will have as the extension at this hip area. The extension will be the hip measurement divided by 4 again. So whatsoever you have at the hip divided by 4, you take it upward. That is 40 divided by 4, 10 inch. You mark 10 inch upward too. So you just rule a line like that. Then at the waist area, you take in half inches. You take in half inches at this point. So we don't need this point. We'll be cutting that part out later. So the next thing I'll be doing is to extend this line to my crotch line. Then I'll be measuring the extra crotch inches, that is the 10 inches divided by 4. I'll just be measuring it across this area. So that's where the point is. So now with your French curve or your free hand, you connect this point just like this. You make sure the line is connecting to the new line we've measured, that is the half inch we've measured away. So the next thing we'll be doing is to measure our waist measurement divided by 4. Then you add 1 inch for your dart allowance. That's what we will add. We won't be adding any sewing allowance to this pattern because we'll be adding every sewing allowance to the back pattern. We'll just be adding a dart allowance. After you've measured it, you just connect the point down to your hip area. If you are still watching and you've not given this video a thumbs up yet, please give this video a thumbs up. It really helps the video. The next thing we'll be doing is to measure the thigh area, that is the crotch measurement and the hip measurement all together. Then we divide whatsoever we have there into 2. So whatever you have there, you divide it into 2. So you just keep dividing like that. Whatever you have there, you keep measuring until you get to the ankle area. Then you can draw a straight line at the middle. After that, whatsoever you have as your thigh circumference, you divide it into 2. So let's assume I have 20 as my thigh circumference. So 20 divided by 2 is 10. So we're measuring 10 on this part of this pattern. So if it is 10, that is 5 at this side and 5 at the other side. So that's what you will measure. So it's the same as your new measurement. That is the new circumference. So if your circumference, let's say, is 16, so 16 divided by 2 is 8. So now to measure the 8, you take 4 inches at this side, at the right hand side, and 4 inches at the other side. So you'll be measuring 8 on this pattern, and the remaining 8 will be on this other pattern. So after that, you connect these points together. Though we are not done, but I just want to connect these points first before I continue. So this is the lower part of our pattern, and our ankle circumference, let's assume, is 14. So 14, that is 7, we'll divide it into 2, which is 7. So on this part, we'll measure 7, that is 3.5 to the right and 3.5 to the left. So the remaining 7, we'll measure it on the back pattern. So after you are done, you connect your points to the remaining part you've connected. So now this is what I have done. So this is a pant trouser. So the first pattern I drafted now is a pant trouser. So in case you just want to sew a pant trouser, that is the pattern, just cut it out. But now I want to make it a palazzo. Depending on how wide you want the lower part of your palazzo to be, that is what you will add. Though I'm adding 1.5 here, but you can add 2 or 2.5. That is, on the right side you add 2.5, and on the other side you have 2.5. But here I'm adding 1.5 to this side. But if you want your pattern to be wider than this, you can add 2.5. But on this pattern that I'm using, I added 1.5. So after that, from your hip measurements downward, you just connect the line downward. I'm sorry you can't see this, but you will see it very soon. So from here now, from the thigh measurements, from your thigh measurements, you connect this line downward to meet this new points you've made. So now this part will be your palazzo, that is cutting the pattern all together will be your palazzo. So after that, we just go ahead and cut out our pattern. So this is what the pattern looks like. So if you fold this part in, that is the new line we drew out, that is the palazzo line. If you fold it in like this, this will be your pants. That is, the remaining pattern will be for your pants. But if you open it up, that will be your palazzo. I hope you get. If you open it up, that will be your palazzo. So for our back pattern, we'll be increasing the length of the pants by 1.5 inches. At that upper part, I increased it by 1.5, and this part also I'm extending the crotch curve by 1.5 also. So now the next thing now is to redraw my crotch line for the back. So using that new point to this new point over here, I'll just place my French curve like this, and I will redraw the crotch line. As you can see that it is different from the front crotch, because this is because there is hip at the back and there's no hip at the front. So that is what I have. Yeah, I've placed my pattern on it, and the only difference between the front and the back pattern is the 1.5 inch extension at this upper part. That new line I drew, just the 1.5 inch extension. At this side now, I'll be adding 2 inches along this side, 2 inches downward, 2 inches. Then after adding the 2 inches, I will connect it. After I'm done, I'll move to this area. You know, we extended the crotch at this part, so I'll just connect it towards this side, not too far, like 5 inches downward. So I'll just connect it like that, and at this point here, I will slant this, I'll slant that part up there, just like that. So I'll slant it like that. So this is what it will look like. Then I'll just go ahead and cut for you to see the back pattern clearly. So for the back bodies too, the same thing I did for the front bodies, that I added extra 1.5 inches at the ankle area. I'll do the same too for the back bodies. Like I said earlier, if you want your palazzo to be wider, you will increase that 1.5. You can increase it to like 2.5, 2 or 3. So you just measure 3 at that part, then you connect it down to this thigh area. So to this side, just connect it to this point here, and you do the same thing too for the other side. After you are done, you cut out the new line. Don't make the mistake of cutting out what you've added, please. So now let's make the dart. I'm sorry I couldn't show you how I was making the dart because I lost the clip. So your nipple to nipple measurement divided by 2, you measure it, then you take out 1/2 inch from both sides, and the length of this dart is very short. It's like 4.5 inches. You do the same thing too for the back, and that is all about the dart. So this is the front pattern and this is the back pattern. As you can see, the palazzo extension that we folded in. So this is what it will look like. If you want to cut your pant pattern, you fold this in, you cut, and if you want to cut your palazzo, you open it up, then you cut. So this is what we have. So in case you want to add pockets to your trouser, this is how to add your pocket. So this is my pattern paper, and it is 7 inches by 12 inch wide. It is folded into 2. Let's assume you are using your fabric directly. So now I'll just place this pattern like this, then I will trim it out. So after trimming it out, I'll just place my French cuff like this, just to draw a slant line. So this line will not get to my hip area. It will just be something like, the length is like 7 inches. The length is like 7 inches, and the wideness over there is like 2.5 inches. So that is what I will do. Then before I cut it out, I will open up this pattern. That is, you know, the pattern is folded. If it is a fabric too, this is how it should be. So I will open it up. I will open it up like this, and I'll place it on each other. I'll place it on each other, then I will cut. So I won't cut the other part, but I'll just cut one part of the pattern paper, just like the way I'm doing. So when you bring back the other pattern, as you can see, it has balanced out, but there is this space for pockets. So this is how the pattern will be. If you like, you can curve this pattern at this area over here, or you can just leave it like that, depending on your preference. So this is how it will look. So if you are cutting it on the fabric, you will cut the exact pattern and you will add sewing allowance to the required area. So talking about the sewing allowance, so in my next video, I'll be cutting this pattern on a fabric and I'll be adding the sewing allowance to the required area. So if you want to know how I will add my seam allowance to this pattern, please subscribe to my channel and click on the bell icon so that you can get notified whenever I drop the video. So this is part of the video that I'll be dropping very soon after this video. So if you want to see how I was able to sew this, how I was able to achieve this up to this extent, please subscribe, click on the bell icon, and so that you can get notified whenever I post the video. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in that video. Bye.